Okay. Welcome to the Why Ukraine live stream, everybody. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you being here. Megovan and Melanin, as we say. If you want to know why I'm 10 minutes late for the chat today. There we are. So we're 10 minutes late for the chat today, and the live stream is running late. Well, welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Why Ukraine live stream. I'll say it again. So if you want to know why I'm starting late today, you're looking at it. Basically, all of these missiles, the Russians have fired 118 missiles at hydroelectric plants, and this one in particular, this most recent one at the Zaporizhia dam, which luckily did not. The Four Corner Club, Salt of the Red Earth. I like it. Hello, it wasn't me. Good to see you. So yeah, we have various schedules. The power is off for random times during the day. In fact, I can show you here. I'll show you the schedule here on the left-hand side of the screen. This is the schedule for today. I mean, like what the hell, you know? I'm in. This is line. So Cherhy, I guess you pronounce that Cherhy. It means like what line you're on. And so I lacked electricity 4 to 6 a.m., 10 to 12, 4 to 6, and no, this is not right. Oh, it's see, we have a new schedule every single day, as you guys can see. So this is today's schedule. Oh my gosh, here we go. Yeah, so yeah, until 8 o'clock. So you can see it's very confusing. It's a different power schedule every single day, and oh my god, it's such a hassle. And everyone here is dealing with it in all of my students all over the country. And this is life in war. Hey Viper, glad you're back. Good to see you. Shere Khan, Mitch, you guys are great. So I guess with good news, we're well over 500,000 Russian casualties. I don't know. Do you want to place bets on if it's going to hit 1 million? I think it'll hit much more than 1 million Russian casualties. This 1,280 number, I believe that's on a daily, and it's happening because Russia has been assaulting areas, especially up north, especially in areas like, I mean, they're still doing it up here, in the north up by. Sorry guys, I'm still sick actually too. I don't know if you could tell. My voice is still a little cracky, and now my family's got sick because of course I'm sick, so I got them sick, but they're sending, just once again, just almost untrained troops into these areas. And where's the let's see if I can find the. Oh yeah, Now, this is down on the Dnipro River, but Ukrainian drone shows, Russians on jet skis. I saw another one with Russians on electric, not scooters, but let's see, Russians. What do you call those? The stand-up. They're not like scooters. Russians on how do we call it? E-scooter. Yeah, like these. Russians trying to assault on these things. Russians assault on e-scooter.
I'm so sorry, I need to change internet. No? Don't touch it?
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, here it is. Here's the picture right here. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. So, but at the same time, they're still able to do horrible things. As you guys, if you guys are keeping up with the news, you should know Kharkiv, children being evacuated from these towns. So all these little towns around here. So you zoom in, and the further you zoom in, it becomes more granular, and you get more and more of these little villages, and there's children in all of these places, and elderly and all of that, and they just keep on doing it and coming. Yeah, soon that's basically what they're doing. KKSGG is assaulting on segways, So it's like so 6 villages in the border districts of Zolochiv, 1,700 people. And the terrible thing about that is these people are then they'll probably never see their homes again, because it's gonna be bombed to smithereens, So in other news that I want to briefly talk about today, we know that Ukraine has struck targets. It will struck the ferries around the Kerch Bridge, and that is hurting Russian logistics. But what would stop the Russians? Well, I mean, taking out the Kerch Bridge, Shirkan, I think. I mean, I still don't understand why they haven't taken out the Kerch Bridge yet. Frankly, the other thing that's going to stop the Russians is we just have to kill more of them, because they're not going to change. They're just not. Sadly. What's going to stop them is that they die, basically. No, I don't. Shirkan. So Shirkan asks, would that stop the northern advance? And no, I think that they will just keep on. They've decided they're going to do this, and they're not going to stop advancing along the northern border for uselessly and killing off their people over and over, but just for the duration of the war. And they're going to just keep on doing it. I mean, arguably, we could say the northern advance has already been stopped, but they're just throwing more and more people at it. But on the southern end, I don't know why. Obviously, somebody knows something strategically that I do not. Thank you, Ken, for buying memberships for people. That's awesome. Yeah. So as always, Ukraine needs the world to step up. That's absolutely correct. I mean, so this is, this is a big plus. These attacks, so U.S. officials confirm Ukraine's June strikes inside Russia with American weapons. These attacks were permitted by the White House to defend Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city. But there's a creep. Mitch, the war won't end while Putin is alive. That's correct. Yeah, taking out Putin would be a BFD. Oh, Philip. Yeah, hey. I've seen you commenting around. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Good to see you, my man. Philippe. Is it Philip or Philippe? It's probably Philippe. Yeah. Awesome. So there's a mission creep happening here, or a command creep, maybe you want to say. Okay. And I think, others have talked about this. Just talked about this, that this puts the United States arguably in a decision-making position, a much more active decision-making position with regards to the Ukrainian army's, what it's doing in general. It gives them a much more granular decision-making basis. So this is a kind of I would argue it's kind of a mission creep, because every time, it's a ridiculous thing, and I think it's either going to have to go away, okay? Because every time Ukrainians want to target something, they have to get approval to do it. Oh, is it too far? Can we strike past Belgorod? How far from Belgorod? Yeah. Shirkan, it may seem like there's a lack of coherent plan, although just keep in mind, perhaps we just are not privy to the plan. I don't want to read that one yet. I want to stay here. It's possible that we just aren't privy to the internal discussions that are happening, But I just do want to point out that this, by trying to stay out of the war, America, the United States, is actually involving itself more in the war. And we've seen this over and over and over happening. It's ridiculous. Then it's a PR issue, Shere Khan. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, but let's look at some good things. Yeah. So we're hearing, this is from the ISW, but I've also seen independent reports of Russians talking about how yes, they might have fire superiority in terms of artillery, but Ukraine, in some cases, they're saying, has a 10-to-1 advantage with regards to drones. And guess who's helping there? That's you guys. That's you guys and all the other. I know I'm not the only YouTube channel that you guys donate to by far, and it's fantastic. So I would like you guys to know that I ordered the drone. Thank you, Amtoft. Yeah, I kind of gave you guys a tour of the garden. I've got a lot more garden videos coming on my short feed. So I'd like you guys to know that this weekend, actually tomorrow, I can't tell you where I'm going, okay? And I can't tell you who I'm meeting with, okay? But I'm going to deliver the drone that you guys purchased. It hasn't arrived yet, but I'm actually having it shipped directly to the place that I'm going. So you guys will, in the live stream here, you guys will get to see pictures and videos of that when I come back. Obviously, for OPSEC purposes, I'm not going to talk about exactly where I'm going or who I'm delivering it to. Now, that is for the second raffle. We have a third raffle, and I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to add up what total we're at on this third raffle yet. But this third raffle will also go to help the International Legion, and whoever we're gonna hold a raffle, and this time, yeah, Viper says less speak and more do would be great from the West. Just an observation. You guys will notice that I have stopped reporting on every time there's an announcement about some country in the West has pledged to donate this, thus, and so. I don't even talk about it anymore. I just don't. Okay, I just really don't, because it's not worth it. Because things get announced 3 times, 5 times before they actually get delivered, and when they do get delivered, it's half of what they said it was going to be most of the time. So screw that, you know. But yeah, so this new raffle that we are holding is for this flag right here, which is the flag I'm holding up, is the flag that you see in that picture, and those members of the International Legion are the people we are delivering drones to. So it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing that you guys have helped me make this happen, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all. So if you'd like to help with that, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/whyukraine. And I just haven't had time to get my Shopify all configured. The Shopify is working, and you can also go on here and buy tourniquets, and you can support my work directly by buying. This is all kinds of crazy merch that I've got. And this is all made by Ukrainian companies here. So we have a lot more things planned besides, but one step at a time. And the drone, though, that we're delivering is almost exactly like this drone that you see in the picture. And one thing I've noticed is that, yeah, awesome. Thank you, Real Dave Seaman. One thing that I've noticed is that as I've been shopping for drones over the last, not just, even just the last 3 months, I mean, there is like just drone companies coming out of the woodwork here in Ukraine. Everybody and their uncle is building drones, pretty much. You know, it's really crazy. And so it just shows you that, you know, the Russians may have one big factory filled with child slaves, which, by the way, that is apparently how they're building drones right now. Let me see. Russian drone factory children. Yeah. A Russian factory is using underage workers to build drones. It's crazy, you know. So that's what Russia's doing. And in the meantime, you know, Ukraine is just every little person in their basement and in their apartments, and just, I mean, not everyone, obviously, but enough. You know, it only takes a percentage. So I'm glad to see that they are bemoaning the situation. You know, it's a good thing. It's a big plus. It gives me hope. This is interesting because I keep hearing. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay. Where is the thing about troop buildups? Yes. I'm really concerned about where Russians are planning to attack next. And oh yeah, this is the one. It's my first article. That's what I was looking at. So this one here, I'm just like, it says that they're amassing troops on the border, but where are they amassing troops? That's the real question. We are expecting another we're expecting another. I expect them to try to open up yet another offensive, even though this one is unsuccessful. I think that they could open up another one up here in the Sumy region, and this is why I'm bringing up this article about Russians hitting Nikopol with heavy artillery. If you don't know where Nikopol is, it's across the river. Now, remember, there's no lake here anymore. It might show up on Google Maps, but it's not there. So it's across the river from Europe's largest nuclear power plant. So they've got their artillery is sitting over here around the power plant, and we can't strike them back because there's a chance you could hit the power plant. Thank you, KKSGG. Thank you very much. I'm glad you guys. I will use that to buy dog food for the doggo for sure. Paul, how you doing, man? Man, you are the winningest winner of the winners. Paul Gilbert here, if you guys didn't know, won the last 2 drone raffles. So, man, Paul, you need to go hit the casino because it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, Viper. So Sumy Oblast, is a real concern. But maybe the Russians are looking across this used to be river and thinking, maybe we can do something across here. Anytime I start to see, every time I start to see, them launching new artillery, heavy artillery, I start to think, well, that's a precursor to a future attack. And it would make sense for the Russians, to attack from this area, right? Because they have the nuclear power plant at their back. And again, if they can cross the river here, which is much thinner than you see it, well, are you going to shoot artillery at guys that are? What if you overshoot and you end up hitting the power plant, the nuclear power plant? So it puts Ukrainians at a disadvantage, and I think it's a real concern. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm reading you guys talking to Paul here at the same time. So, but we got to laugh about something, right? Yeah. So, I mean, this is something I'm thinking about. It's a concern. Right. So, I'm curious about the reason I'm thinking about this, about the S-200s, okay, is Ukraine's air defense. And Ukraine just, I'm thinking about the fact that I have no power because we don't have enough air defense, Yes, Bell, I will do that. And I will do that today after our live stream. So, last Sunday, I was questioning about the new AWACS that's coming from Sweden to Ukraine. And how much will that extend Ukraine's radar range? Where can that AWACS safely fly? That's the sort of thing that, I don't know, Anders Puck Nielsen or maybe someone else, Suchomimus or somebody could do an analysis of how far of an extension that is. But is there a way that these old S-200 missile systems could be improved, could be revamped, so that be a viable threat against, against the drones, or maybe not the drones, but the missiles? It's the missiles that we can't stop. There's a lot of those missiles, and the problem is it's not worth it all the time if you only have a limited number of Patriot missile systems and a limited number of S-300 systems. Can the S-200 be improved somehow? Can these missiles have something attached to them? That's the question that I'm wondering. So this is they've been doing some things. There's been a lot of missile attacks where they've said, we've been like, what's going on? So that's the question that this article is asking. Can it shoot down aircraft 300 kilometers away? Can it be used to? I mean, they're talking about the Russian AWACS, the Russian A-50s, but and I think that it's a viable against those kind of targets, slow moving targets. But what about fast moving targets? Maybe not hypersonic, but other missiles. Paul, you just said what really concerns me is the dam at Zaporizhia. If the Russians destroy that, then the whole ecological disaster will be even more horrendous. Yeah, it's just a repeat again. Of last year, right? But what I would say about that is the volume of this lake here is not as great as the volume of the other lakes. Now, you want to talk about volume, let's get up here to this lake near Cherkasy. That's a big freaking problem. And up here, Lake Kiev, up here, that would be a real, even worse of a disaster. But the one thing I would say about this this attack, they could have destroyed this. They did not. It seems like they purposefully did not. Instead they took out the power plant near to the dam. Yes, Viper. Talking about the Swedish plane, 450 kilometer range. Yeah, that is public knowledge, and it just becomes a question of what are the ranges of the Russians' S-300s, S-400s, and so there's going to be kind of some overlap there. I mean, I would imagine that the Swedish AWACS, what is it called, the A890 or I can't remember. I would be surprised if it could fly past Kiev, for example, safely. But that extends that still extends the radar range further out. Anyway, that's these are the questions that I'm asking. Wow. Thank you, Real Dave Seaman. That's awesome. Kathy's guess. Very cool. Thank you for buying those members. If you didn't know, I have a Discord server and you can join it. Using your membership, if you join, if you know how to join it, connect your Discord server to your YouTube account. Then when you join the Discord server, my Discord server, the Last Alliance Discord server, you will be listed as an elf friend, which is quite nice. That's what that means, by the way. Elvalon, it means elf friend. So thank you very much, Real Dave Seaman. Now, I want to talk about a little bit about some discussions that I've been having this week with my Ukrainian students and friends and people I know, and what's going on in the hearts and minds of Ukrainians. And, it's hard right now, obviously, as you know. About half of my students are no longer in the country, and the majority of those are in the IT sphere, like programmers. We use the IT sphere here in Ukraine in the most general sense. So in America, we might say they're in tech. Philippe, it's very interesting that you say that, talking about Zelensky, and I think that Zelensky is more popular outside of Ukraine than he is inside of Ukraine. Here in Ukraine, Ukrainians are just a bit more circumspect. So it's pretty interesting, this little survey here. So half of Ukrainians believe Zelensky fulfilled few or none of his promises, survey says. And so I was speaking to my students about this general subject, and some of my students are, for example, afraid to go back to Ukraine because, because they're cowards. Sadly, they don't believe that. I've been told by like 4 different people, and all of them were tech workers, something to the effect of they feel like Ukraine should have a caretaker government from the EU for a while. And basically the reason that they always state, the number one reason that they state about why they left Ukraine or won't go back to Ukraine is because of corruption. And they don't believe that Ukraine is capable of, by itself, of overcoming corruption. Now, you might say that that's kind of, maybe they're just using it as an excuse as to why they left. It's also interesting that many of my students who are not tech workers, although not all, by which I mean, not programmers. Maybe they work in the technical field, but it's more like business services or engineering, something of that nature. They're staying here. They have stayed. You could say that maybe that's because, due to the nature of their jobs, they didn't have the option of leaving. But I'm not certain that is the case. It's certainly not the case in it. Certainly if they're female, so, I mean, the question is, what is going to restore people's faith? And the one thing I noticed, the people who have stayed here in Ukraine, they seem to have more faith in their country. They seem to believe that things are going to get better, and the people who left don't. Yeah, Viper, that's funny. So Viper says, no, hell no, the EU can't make a decision for shit. um, yeah, show me a president working harder, any president working harder than Zelensky. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Viper. You know, hey, don't shoot the messenger here. I'm just telling you what I'm being told, to be honest. Just understand that Ukraine is a free country and a democratic country, and there's lots of people with lots of opinions, and that is, they're not necessarily unified on everything in the way that you might think, or maybe in the way that they should be. Well, thanks for coming, Shirkan. And I try to tell my students, the ones who are outside the country, or even the ones who are inside the country, I say, listen, America has corruption too, and the EU has corruption. We just recently saw it with the big investigations happening with let's see, EU Russian investigation. I mean, there's been multiple of these. This was just at the end of last month. Within the European Parliament. Is there? Oh, well, that's interesting. Is there a correlation between the tech industry and misinformation? Perhaps. I don't know. I mean, I'm someone who comes from the tech industry. Manu, Italy has no corruption. We have mafia, right? So Bell, to kind of answer that question, I'm someone who comes from the tech industry, and I will tell you this. I've changed over the years as a human, as a man. I didn't join the tech industry because I wanted to work hard. Okay. Frankly, I was lazy. No, I ended up working my ass off. And the tech industry will work your ass off. But there's this perception. There's a perception that, hey, if I go, work in computers, then I don't have to, do real work like lifting bricks or something, So I think there's a cycle. And it starts, I wouldn't say it starts with Russian misinformation, but, Greg Terry was talking about this. ATP Geopolitics, Jonathan was talking about this, about there's a deliberate cycle of Russian, not just misinformation, but they have a tactic that they do, which is just despair. Hey, Leslie, thanks for coming. In the despair is really what I would like to stress, that so many Ukrainians, unfortunately, are feeling, and you have to understand, like, being here, living here in the middle of it, you're on this kind of constant roller coaster. So there's that's a big problem, but there's also laziness. Laziness, which is telling yourself that you can't do anything. I can't do anything about it. I asked one of my students and a couple of people I know, I said, hey, so what, do you read the news? Do you keep up with what's going on with the war and all of that? Or do you read the news at all? And they say, no, it just makes me sad. It just, causes me stress. So I don't read the news, so I don't know what's going on. And so then I'm like, well, if you don't know what's going on, then how can you fix the problems? Well, I can't fix the problems because there's too much corruption. And it's kind of this circle, Philippe, we're all tired, but we sleep all night in our bed. Yeah. And, I feel that I mean, there's a lot of Americans who are the same. They don't pay attention to the news. They don't pay attention to anything that's going on. The people who are the majority of people who are gonna vote in this next election in November, they're gonna wake up at the end of October and say, "Oh, I think there's an election," because they haven't been paying attention at all to anything that's actually happening in the real world, because that's too difficult. That's too hard. And that's one reason why I respect all of you guys coming here and, sitting through. I know that you're not just watching my live streams. You guys are keeping up with the news and what's going on in the world. And you don't say, well, what can I do about it? Why should I care? Because that's a cop-out. That's laziness. And yeah, I guess some of my students are lazy. And I don't know. All I can do is try to lead by example. And I know that in some ways, sometimes it kind of shames them when they see they're living outside of the country and they don't even know what's going on inside their own country. And here I'm an American living in their country and like delivering drones to the front line. God, it has to kind of, I don't try to criticize them. I try to just live by setting the example, I guess. Yes. Okay, Viper, that's an interesting statement. I can't be objective, unfortunately. The main reason I don't like or want to go to Kyiv is exactly that. Everyone has opinions, but only 20% is giving their all to not lose the country. Yeah, and I have this discussion sometimes, So this is a relevant issue here that I have on the screen in front of me. This summer, border guards will increase patrolling on tourist routes in Bukovina and Frankiv region. So that's Chernivtsi and Ivano-Frankivsk regions. If you're not sure where that is, we can just look on the map. That's down here. So there's Chernivtsi and Ivano-Frankivsk. Okay, and I can tell you, I took a bus last fall, I think, from one of these cities, Kolomia, if I can find it on the map here. It's very close to Ivano-Frankivsk. Why can't I find it? Anyway, it's around. I took a bus. Oh yeah, there it is. I took a bus from here over these mountains to where I was living, which was Berehova here. So from Kolomia right there to Berehova, and it goes all through these mountains. And let me tell you, holy crap. What should have taken maybe like 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, because there were some stops along the way, took, I think, 9.5 hours, because we were stopped by the border guards. Like, I stopped counting after the 6th border guard search. Like, how many do you need? It was crazy. Hang on a second, guys. Give me just 1 second. I have to close my window. 1 minute. Jesus Christ. Fucking awful. Someone's burning something outside for some reason, and I have no idea why. Burning trash, probably, to be honest. Ugh. It's bad enough I have a cold or the flu or whatever this is. Okay. Anyway, so unfortunately, it's This is due to the fact that many criminals disguise themselves as tourists with the intention of visiting Goverla, that's the tallest mountain in Ukraine, or other tourist places. Then they try to cross the border illegally. And, you know, the number one reason, though, that I just going back, the number one reason for that Ukrainians tell me about, like, why do they want to leave Ukraine, or why do they not support Ukraine in the way that they should, is corruption, you know. And so when people talk about, you know, Zelensky fulfilled few or none of his promises, that's probably mostly what they're talking about, you know. Really. So, you know, I'm just being real about it here. But this is a big positive thing. Okay, Ukraine's economy ministry chooses Prozoro market for timber procurement to construct fortifications on the front. Why is this? This sounds stupid, right? Why are we even talking about this? No. So Prozoro is an online bidding, like, for, you know, if you want to bid for government contracts. It's not perfect, but it helps those contracts be transparent. And a big problem with the shitty defenses that Ukraine allegedly had that were unfinished up here on the you know, on the Kharkiv border, is because somebody, you know, won the contract, and it, you know, it was probably someone's brother or uncle or something like that, and then they just didn't do the work and they just stole the money. And this is the one thing that Ukrainians complain the most about you know, why their roads are in disrepair and buildings are in disrepair. And you know, this is a problem in Russia and China and all of these countries with this. I mean, I'm not saying that contract corruption and bidding corruption doesn't take place in the United States. It does. I've seen it. That's interesting, Bell. If the U.S. would actually give Ukraine the tools they need to succeed, would more people feel better about fighting? Yeah, I think you know, training and tools is you know, a big part of it, a huge part. That stupid paywalls. You know, a lot of Ukrainians don't want to join the army because they're afraid that they're just going to get thrown in without enough training, and with no weapons, and you know, I mean, it is a real concern. But yeah, Leslie, it's a Russian mentality. Yeah, and that's what my Ukrainian students. Now, keep in mind that I'm not, you know, all I have to give you guys is anecdotal evidence. If people are talking to me, they speak English, you know, and so they're making a conscious choice to do that. They're making a conscious choice to try and improve their English, you know. So I'm not getting a broad survey of Ukrainian society. Yeah. See, Viper, I tell this to my students all the time about corruption. All countries have corrupt politicians, but the West are just so good at hiding in it because they've been at it longer. Yeah, but corruption here, it tends to be much more petty In other words, if you go to try to get your driver's license, they won't let you pass unless you pay the examiner extra money, that sort of thing. That's the sort of corruption that I think people ultimately care about more. But they also, talk about the oligarchs and rich people's children don't have to, politicians' children don't have to fight in the war, all that sort of stuff. But okay, so going back to this bidding marketplace is really important, and it's not perfect. There are still ways to, make bids, have corrupt bids, and have that sort of thing. But the fact that the real question is, why weren't they using it before to build fortifications on the front line? And what system were they using before? Because clearly it wasn't done correctly previously, arguably. That's all. But Ukraine is like, I just want to talk about this article here. Kolomoisky is, or perhaps was, I think he's still the majority shareholder of Ukraine's largest bank, which had to be nationalized because of corruption. And he allegedly ran away with about $4 or $5 billion. Viper, this is a question that I ask my students, right? So at what point do you stop fighting for freedom, democracy, livelihood, and children's future? At what point do you just throw your hands up and say, oh, everything's fucked. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to another country. I'm going to go to Poland, or I'm going to go to Canada or whatever. And I'm like, well, who's going to stop the, forget about the Russian advance. Who's going to stop the corruption? Who's going to stop the advance of corruption? Who's going to fight for freedom, democracy, and the future of our children? And again, that goes to laziness, really. But I want to let you know that. Oh wait! Oh, did I post a new video? It might. So I have some videos scheduled, basically, and I think they might be. I think they might be shorts that I recorded earlier this week. But I want you to know that there are still people in Ukraine who are fighting every day, and not just on the front lines. But I mean, I just want to point out this. Okay, this is just in a regular, newspaper. Accounting chamber. The Ministry of Strategy and Industry did not spend the allocated funds for the production of defense products. They spent 35% less. Corruption in Ukraine, with a certain percentage of, Viper, I agree with you. So why not fight if you're able? Just don't understand that. Sorry. I agree. Absolutely. But it's important to understand that and I think that especially when this war is finished, corruption is so toxic in Ukraine right now, at least with anybody who's under the age of 40. Most of my students are, and their opinion in general is, well, we just have to wait for all of the people from the Soviet Union to die, and maybe the people from the 1990s, people who grew up in the 1990s as well. But it's so toxic in Ukraine. In other words, just people hate it so much that they're like hawks on it all the time, with every little thing. Just, I mean, I think that I don't see these kind of articles in I mean, compare this with what's going on in America right now, where you have half of our country defending a man who is convicted of falsifying business records, fraud, essentially. Okay, 34 convictions, and half of America is defending him. It's like Jesus said, take the log out of your own eye before you take the speck of dust out of anyone else's. Yeah, Bell. Okay. I plan to go to Ukraine to volunteer with an animal shelter. My daughter is 15. Will probably be 16 before I can get there. What are your thoughts about bringing her? I think it's a great idea. Absolutely. I mean, if I'm sure you can, as long as you have guardianship and all that, you should be able to. Absolutely. As long as she has a passport, should be fine. It'd be a great experience for her, I think. So I just want you to know that it's not everybody. It's not all of my students. It's not everybody in Ukraine who's just throwing up their hands and saying, oh, well, I guess we can't do anything. No. And I think that there is going to be kind of a reckoning when this war is over, that those who stayed, or between those who stayed and those who left. And even right now, some of my students who are outside the country are afraid to come back to Ukraine because, they don't want to have to go fight. But after the war, are they going to be allowed to come back? Or if they do, will they face some kind of sanction? It's a question. Yeah, Viper, that's really great. Yeah, it's just exactly what Viper said. It's not really bad everywhere, I mean, really, it's like if you're near the front lines, okay, if you're in these areas, yeah, that's gonna suck. And yes, there are missiles falling on Kharkiv, but it's not that much. I still say you're safer is outside of the front lines. Even like in the back of the front, like when I was in Sloviansk last month, April. Was it April? It was in April. It was just like a normal city for the most part, except for just a lot of guys in uniform and no alcohol. So, I'm telling you these things about these things that Ukraine is going through, but don't think that everyone in Ukraine is just lazy and giving up. That's the opposite is true. There's a sorting happening in Ukrainian society between it's not like the haves and the have-nots. It's the wills and the won'ts, I guess. And wars are won in the will. And those two groups of people, the ones who have the will to fight at all levels, not just on the front lines, but in terms of fighting corruption, in terms of fighting misinformation. And those who have that will are going to stick it out and will stay. And the ones who didn't and don't, even if they stayed in the country, but they didn't help, I think there's going to be an accounting in the end on some level. Yeah, that's a good, right, Viper. That's just a good general rule, to keep track of. Don't go east of the Dnipro. But if you're here, if you go to Kyiv, great. You might even go to, well, I don't know if you want to go to Dnipro, but there's plenty of work to do in a place like Kyiv, for example. I mean, and again, I'm not afraid to go to Kharkiv. It's no problem for me. But that's me. That's my choice. But I wouldn't. Yeah. Anyway, so Ukrainians are trying their damnedest not to fall into that despair. The despair that Russia is constantly trying to impose on them. And So I just every day in the work that I do teaching, I just try to fight against that despair in my students. And that's amazing, Bill. You met someone from Luhansk. That's in Arizona. That's super cool. Really, it's great. I'm glad to see you guys are out there making connections, because meeting a Ukrainian in person and talking to them, and I just think that knowing someone and being able to point to someone and say, I know a Ukrainian, that person, is so important. And wherever you are, if you can do that. Yeah, Petra. I mean, right. I think they are afraid for their lives. They're just humans. Yeah. James, are you becoming Ukrainian? No fear and carpe diem. No, I say carpe noctem. Yeah. Wow, she's a Buddhist. She's living in the Buddhist monastery. That's very interesting. But yeah, you're right, Petra. Not everyone is psychologically capable of even like thinking about this war. I mean, think about what if war came to your country, to your backyard. How would half the people how would they react? They'd run around screaming like chickens with their head cut off. Yeah. Okay. Salt of the Red Earth. What is all the noise about the national and local guards being absorbed into a larger, more national unit? Yeah, I've been watching that. And as far as I know, I understood that to be voluntary. But there's been different versions of national police here in Ukraine, and different iterations of that for some time. Going all the way back to like Berkut, for example. But there are, I think it's, okay. So you've got the Terebrona. Well, okay. So there is a reorganization coming on. I don't know how it's going to shake out, to be honest. It's very interesting, though. I just wanted to mention this. Starsky here, talking about improving the structure of the military management in the armed forces. Now, you guys may recall that last week, or is it 2 weeks ago now? Sorry, I just read what you said, Viper. Eventually, you do get tired of the shit. Yes. Oh, Annie. Thank you for coming, by the way. A refugee from Luhansk works with my son in our local school district as a health assistant. That's cool. Oh, and she has a doctor's degree, but it probably doesn't count as a doctor's degree here or where you are if you're in America, I guess. Yeah, but it at least qualifies her to get some kind of work, so that's good. She's probably working on getting her qualification as a medical doctor in America, I would imagine. But so you may recall a couple of weeks ago, I did this big thing about how Ukraine's going to fire a bunch of generals, and then we haven't seen anything about it since. Okay, crickets, right? But now it looks like maybe it's coming out. It's getting reported. So according to him, the main task is to make the military command system more efficient and eliminate duplication of functions. These measures being carried out as part of the implementation of the strategy, blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is the important paragraph. Starsky said that optimization of the staffing structure of the units of the general staff is ongoing. In particular, their number is decreasing and they are getting rid of extraneous functions. Thanks to this, the military management bodies that command troops in the combat areas have already been strengthened. Now, what do you think that means? I read that as we have too many generals, or as we say in America, too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Okay, too many old generals who were, brought up in the Soviet system. And it's ironic that Starsky himself was brought up in the Soviet system. Okay. Optimization of the staffing structure, the general staff. So those are the generals and the high commanders. Their number is decreasing. Okay. And the military management bodies that command the troops in the combat areas have already been strengthened. So I think what we can read from this is that Starsky is basically maybe not firing the generals, but basically putting the generals in command of troops in combat areas instead of sitting around in their offices somewhere. Thinning out the herd, Anna. Yes, I think so. Communications, Philippe, yes, is absolutely a huge problem. Absolutely a huge problem. Viper says it will assist for controlling section within area of operations for the territorial defense. It will assist with continuity and overview of information and sector security. What are we talking about there? Sorry. We're talking about these general staff that are being demoted, basically. Mr. Nobody, no, I think, but like I was saying, not every Ukrainian is not every person on this earth is psychologically capable of living through a war, and yeah. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Brandon. Sounds like they're switching to a more NCO-based structure. I think that's exactly what they're doing. And these general staff who, again, probably Soviet trained. If they're generals, maybe they don't even have real combat experience. Oh, Ken, thank you very much. Hey, that's awesome, you guys. Ken just bought a tourniquet on the shop here. Thank you so much. That's rocking. Oh, hey, CF Beauty. I didn't know your name was Annette. It's nice to see you. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. So yeah, I just, I look at this in a very hopeful way. I was not very hopeful about Starsky to begin with, but sometimes I'm wrong, really. But I'm happy to be wrong in this case because I think it's a good thing. I think that this, NATO to expand defense tech and intelligence sharing with Ukraine. It's very, very interesting. So NATO is planning to. I hate to talk about things when NATO is planning, but I'm hoping they're announcing this because they've already done it. That's my hope. Okay. Sharing more intelligence about Russia's electronic warfare capabilities. Because, we know that a big problem was that a lot of the missiles that were sent to Ukraine, Wizard of Ooze, hi. That's a fun name. Oh, it's Wizard of Oz. Okay. Gotcha. I thought it said Wizard of Ooze. It's funny. So I'm speculating here, okay? But NATO and arguably, especially the United States, really got their ass handed to them in this past year with the missiles that were being deflected, the supposedly JDAMs and HIMARS being deflected by Russia's electronic warfare systems. Was that happening because... Leslie, thank you for asking. The link to my shop is right here. You can see it's whyukraine.myshopify.com. So if you'd like to buy tourniquets, you can go there, and you can also buy merch, Ukraine merch, to support the work I'm doing and the ZSU, the Ukrainian military. And if you'd like to support our drone raffle, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/whyukraine. Thank you for asking, because I forget. Oh, thank you, Real Dave Seaman. I appreciate that for publishing the shop on Discord. And, I can never keep up with everything. And I know that the shop right now, the only thing that you can buy for troops on the shop is tourniquets. I got a lot to do. But tourniquets are always needed, so that's why they're there. Okay. Anyway, the point is that maybe this is why the new missiles that the United States and that NATO has been sending to Ukraine have been hitting their targets. Remember, because they weren't hitting their targets, So that's why I'm saying I'm hoping that this news is actually past tense, not in the future. So I'm hoping that NATO is giving Ukraine the ability to actually strike Russian targets and break Russian electronic warfare. Otherwise, if Russia's arguably rudimentary sort of blanket electronic warfare systems are able to defeat well, there's my power, guys. But if they're able to defeat the latest and greatest, then what does that say about NATO's capabilities? Yeah. So, you have a Sunday show on the Sill. Sunday show. Oh, okay. My power is back on. All right. Sunday show on Shills. Right. Here we are. Okay. So there's a couple of things I want to share with you guys. Because I think my time might be close to done. I don't know how much longer I'm going to have enough power to last. So, because I want to talk about, this. I want to talk about this, but I think the most important thing I have to talk about today is this right here. There we go. So over the weekend, you guys know that I was ridiculously sick. Holy crap. Yeah, Michelle, I have a generator. The problem is not that. That is my battery backup. The beep is my battery backup system switching over. No, what I need is an inverter. So I need to, my plan is in the next month is to buy a whole house inverter. So I have a very small inverter. Upstairs that runs just like very small devices, like it runs my internet and then my wife's laptop, and then I have a battery down here. But I need something for the whole house, and it's going to be probably about $1,000, something along those lines. So yeah, I don't know if you guys want to help me with that. That is fantastic. Feel free to you can make a You can buy something off the shop, or you can make a donation directly on. Well, where is my? You can make a donation directly on my PayPal. That's what I was trying to say. Wow, I still have the flu. I have to say, I have to tell you, it's affecting me for sure. So yeah, and my PayPal is let's see, KKSGG. The last line, if links to any articles you don't have time to cover today are posted in your Discord channel. And okay, yeah, cool. I will do that. But this is what I actually wanted to share with you guys before all that power drama. While I was sick this weekend horribly, on Saturday, see, I already committed myself because, yeah, it's almost 9:30 here in Ukraine. I had to start at 8 p.m. Annette because of the power issues. So, so one of you, yes, I do have PayPal, Michelle. It's I'll type it in here. It's aberrantred@gmail.com, and it is linked on my main page as well. Be that as it may, one of you guys who wants to remain anonymous donated a guitar to Ukraine, and actually wanted to donate it to my local art school, art, music, and dance. And Petra, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you, Annette. Yeah. Yeah, my Shopify prices are better than retail. Yeah, that's because I shop around, and I'm very careful. I'm always trying to reduce my prices in some way or another. So thank you. So this guitar that you can see in the center here was donated by one of you to the school. They have a new guitar teacher, and so we took this guitar out to the front lines and had it signed by one of the drone operators that you support. So that's what the signature is there on that guitar. I don't know if you can see it. And so I didn't know they were going to do this, but they asked me to get up and make a speech. Well, I mean, I knew like about a week ahead of time, but I didn't. Anyway, the point is, I didn't know I was going to be sick when I was doing it. And I had to get up in front of about 100 people in the middle of town and make this speech. And so I'm going to take a minute here, and I'm going to play it for you. This will be the first time I've seen this. Can you guys all hear this all right? There's very dramatic music. Oh, hey, Annette. No, you're feel free to promo the Shills on here. They've done a lot. You know, you guys have done a lot for me too. So, anyway, so I'll skip ahead a little bit here. It is said that during World War II. I don't know. Can you guys hear this? It is said that during World War II, when Winston Churchill was asked to cut funding for the arts in favor of the war, he simply replied, Then what are we fighting for? Hmm.
Він спитав, а навіщо тоді взагалі, за що ми боремося?
I want you to know that thousands of Americans like me are here in Ukraine supporting your country.
Багато американців, простих американців, таких як я,
You're right, the volume is a little low. Even giving their lives for you right now.
віддають своє життя за вас зараз.
Like all those who signed this flag in the International Legion.
Як люди, які підписали цей флаг з інтернаціонального легіону в Україні.
Okay. There are still hundreds of thousands who want to come to help.
І це досі є багато людей, які хочуть допомагати Україні.
And millions of people donate to Ukraine all over the world.
Багато людей донатять Україні у всьому світу.
You are not alone.
Ви не одні.
We are not alone.
Ми не одні.
So I'll read for you what I said. I said, it is said that in World War II, when Winston Churchill was asked to cut arts funding in favor of the war effort, he simply replied, then what are we fighting for? I want you to know that there are thousands of Americans like me here in Ukraine supporting your country, giving their lives for you right now, just like all those who signed this flag in the International Legion. There are hundreds of thousands more all over the world who want to come to help. And there are millions of individuals donating to Ukraine from all over the world. This guitar was brought here from California, taken to Sloviansk, and signed by FOMA, an FPV operator from Zaporizhia. I now bestow it on your school to welcome your new guitar teacher. May she use it well and remember those who protect us. So, anyway, it was a nice ceremony, and it was nice of the person who donated the guitar, and I think it was Viper, you love the look. It's me when I'm sick. Yeah, so just letting Ukrainians know, giving them that glimmer of hope that, hey, there's people out there who you don't even know on the other side of the world, who are thinking about you and your kids and your children. And I think it was just really important to let them know that stuff. And so it was where I was like feverish, my like sweating, standing up there. I had to read it off my phone because I couldn't remember anything. But yeah, so that's what I've got for you today, guys. There we go. That's what I've got for you today, guys, and that's where I'll end it. So I just want to thank you all. Thank you all for coming to this little live stream. And hat still on, yes. And it means a lot to me that you're here. And you should just know that your efforts do not go unnoticed here in Ukraine. And it means a lot. And every time I tell people that about what you guys are doing, their life really makes a big difference. So thank you all, and wish me luck over the weekend. I do not know if I will be able to live stream over the weekend. I can't tell you where I'm going to go or who I'm going to meet with. I'm just going to be delivering the drone that you guys bought. And if you'd like to help us, get the next drone, you just go to Buy Me a Coffee, and if you go to the main site here, we're having a raffle, by the way. You can potentially win something. You go to the main site and you can just say, for the drone raffle. And once we reach, I don't remember. I think it's 500. I think it's $500 is what we're setting the price at. Yeah, 500. Once we hit 500, I don't know where we're at right now with that. I haven't had the chance to do the math, but once we do that, then we'll order the drone and get it out to the guys who are fighting out there for us. So thanks everybody. Thanks for coming, and Slava Ukraine. Do побачення.